Thank you for joining us today for our December 2024 Strengthening Families Networking webinar. Today we are hearing about a great new paper that CSSP put out reflecting a lot of work from a group of people you're going to hear from today. It's called I Just Want to Be a Father, Protecting the Rights of Young Fathers Involved in Child Welfare Systems and Promoting Family Well-Being. I'm Kaylin O'Connor with the Center for the Study of Social Policy. We host these webinars along with our partners at the Children's Trust Fund Alliance most months. And it's an open invitation to folks who are using the Protective Factors Framework or coordinating strengthening families efforts in their states or communities. Each month we have a different topic, usually with a guest speaker. We coordinate those. We invite you to let us know if there's a great topic that you would like to present on, some work you've been doing locally that you want to share with the rest of the network, or just a speaker you saw that you think would be a great person to invite. We always welcome that. And we do have the recordings and materials from all of the webinars for many years worth posted at the link on your slide, and I will put that in the chat in a moment. Upcoming webinars, we do these on the second Thursday of each month. So January 9th, we will have one. We're still finalizing the content for that. So we will get that out to you soon, but feel free to hold the time, same place, slightly different link. And we're still figuring out the schedule for 2025. We may be changing the frequency of these webinars, but we will let you know that soon. And encourage you to just stay tuned for that. One way to do that is to subscribe to CSSP's Strengthening Families newsletter. You could go to any page on cssp.org and scroll down to the bottom, and there's this sign up now button. So you can sign up for the Strengthening Families newsletter and any other CSSP newsletters that you're interested in. So I'm very excited for today to welcome some of the authors and experts involved in the I Just Want to Be a Father report. So you will be hearing today from Rachel Blustain, Isaiah Burrell, Jerry Calderon, and Muhchinu Rahman. And I do just want to mention my two colleagues from CSSP who are not joining us today, but who convened this group and helped with this report, Lisa Mishraki-Javier and Fatimata Kane. Their work is represented in how this all came together, but they're not able to join us today. After that main presentation, we will hear updates from the Children's Trust Fund Alliance, from Maureen Holliker, and from Butterfly Trainings That Transform, from Maureen Durning. After the Maureens, I will share some updates from CSSP, and we will wrap up with the hour. So with that, I'm going to hand off to the team behind this paper and this great work. Welcome.
Great. Isaiah, you want to start us?
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Burrell. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about, the paper, I Just Want to Be a Father, which focuses on the experiences of young fathers in care. The fathers of children living with mothers in foster care as well. In our researching paper, we've talked to young parents in New York City, staff members at mother and child residences, and we gathered information from New York's City Administration for Children's Services. We found that young fathers are not getting the support that they need, don't have places to go with their children when they're going to these programs to get their children. There are problems. Fathers aren't being supported to be in the children's life. Not every father in care has a support system of their own. So fathers are not being supported to be with their child. And there are a lot of conflicts when we're going to these programs to see the child.
Great. Thank you. Muhchinu, you want to go next?
Hi, my name is Blustain. I was a young mother in foster care. I just want to make clear that the fathers that we are focused on, it can be a little confusing, but the fathers we are talking about are young fathers who are themselves in foster care and fathers of children living with young mothers in foster care. They're not fathers who are being investigated by Child Protective Services or have an open child welfare case. They're just fathers who should have the same rights as our fathers. Yeah, that's
Okay, great. And Jerry's gonna join us in a minute. He's
I'm here.
also-
I'm ready.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jerry Calderon. I am also a child who was in a child. I'm an adult who used to be in foster care. Excuse me. And my addition to this paper, I would say, is the experiences that I have added to it from the things that I've went through, and helping try to guide the paper in a way that would push this narrative forward, the narrative being that fathers should as well be treated as equally as mothers when it comes to their child in foster care.
Great, thank you. So today we're going to ask you to listen to the experiences of these three parents, and then we're going to share some of what we learned from frontline staff when we wrote the paper. And finally, we're going to share with you our recommendations. Jerry, I have a question. It would probably be easier for you to be at home with your outline in front of you. Do you want to go now talking about your experience, or do you want Muhchinu to go first and you go second?
If I want, I could talk about my experiences. I don't really mind. When it comes to my experiences, let me get away from this group of people in my business. When it comes to my experiences and what I've been through in foster care, specifically me, I was faced with a lot of hurdles in the sense of going to see my son and having time to spend with my son. Now, at the time when I was younger, that's all I thought I was missing out on, was spending time with my kid. But like, I've had caseworkers tell me that I need a background check. Mind you, I'm also in foster care, so that information should be easily accessible to anyone that is a staff. Then you have staff that would do things like, oh, you can't come in unless A, B, and C, which A, B, and C is not even a rule. It's something you want me to do so that you don't have to do it, or something that you want to do to put a hurdle in front of me. Because realistically, the fact was that I had multiple staff giving me multiple rules and multiple reasons on why I couldn't visit my kid. And once me and my wife moved in, I've noticed that it wasn't just the time that I was missing with my children. It was more so the memories. Like, I have 3 kids now. 2 of them, I was able to be there throughout their whole childhood and all that. I'm not saying like my kids are old, but I was there for their baby ages. I got to see baby steps. I got to see first words. I got to see them try to eat solids and stuff like that for the first time. And, at first I thought, whatever, my kid won't mind this. But as time progresses, I see that my oldest son, the one I wasn't able to be around as much as I would have liked to, he has grown more attached to his mother. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact is that there's a difference between how my 2 younger kids act and my 1 older kids act, based on just the fact of how I was allowed to be in his life. Now, it's not even like I was completely out of his life, If I wanted to go see my kids, we would have to go see each other outside or whatever kind of weather. I had this one lady tell me, this foster home, not even just like a group home or a mother program, it was a foster home. I had the mother of that foster home asked me to clean out her backyard so I can see my son outside in the cold, which is crazy because it's like, why would I clean your backyard to be in the same predicament I'm already in when I can just go somewhere entirely different and figure it out? And so this is why I spoke up and took the opportunity when it was presented to me to make the paper, because we may not, as a society, see the effects that it takes upon one singular child, but that one singular child has definitely been affected by all of society for this one, for just missing like a year or 2 or 3 out of his life. And now, I'm not saying like he's completely different or anything, but it just shows, and it hurts sometimes, but I can't hold it against him. It's not his fault. and he, had nothing to do with it.
Great. Jerry, thank you for speaking so eloquently. I don't know if before we go on to Muhchinu, do you want to add anything about, like, it was hard for you to be in Muhchinu's home because they said you needed a background check, or her foster home.
Yeah.
Was it possible for
Yes.
your son to be in your home? And how come you couldn't go to
Oh,
friends or family? So I just wanted to give you a
okay.
chance to speak on
So
that.
when it comes to my personal life, sadly, I don't really have family to rely on in any kind of variety or sense. It realistically just is me and my wife. So that was like instantly out the picture. My foster home would not let the baby, because I was in a group home at the time. That group home would not let my son stay with me for the night for whatever reasons. Because realistically, if I wanted to watch my son, all I needed is some clothes and my son. But whatever reason they had that they didn't want to allow my son to be in the same home as me. So I couldn't even keep my son with me. When it came to coming to see her, like they had all kinds of rules, like you're only allowed in this one area. And that's even if I got in the building, because mind you, depending on the staff, I might need a background check all of a sudden. Depending on the staff, I might have to clean something out. Depending on the staff, I might have to do this, that, and the third. And so it really did just add layers and layers of stress onto me just trying to actually be there. Because it would be one thing if I was a deadbeat and I wasn't there. That's on me. But I was there and I was trying to be there, which is a lot more than a lot of people can say, especially nowadays. And so it's just like, it feels so messed up to feel like if I really wanted to take my kid and stay with him for the night, I would have to AWOL, spend hundreds of dollars on a hotel, or do the next best thing, which is like, who knows, you know? And it's just like, it was just a whole obstacle course and challenges and trials and tribulations to go through to be with my son.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Muhchinu, you want to add sort of what your experience was?
Yeah, well, Jerry and I are the parents that have 3 children together. And so I did see a lot of, like he did say, with our oldest kid, there was a lot of, differences between his relationship with his father than my younger two. Um, so there's that. And then Jerry was not able to see my oldest child unless we were outside. It could have been like right now, as cold as it is outside, we would have to see each other outside because it was, if you go to a friend's house, you need their family has to do a background check. And
That's what you
even
were told. That wasn't right,
yeah,
but that's what you.
yeah, that's what we were told. We were told that they need to have to do background checks. If we were staying over, we had to do background checks.
Can I cut you off for a second? I just remembered this. Another thing with visitations was she had to write down her visitations for the week, a week prior to that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, that's actually what I was coming to next. Like, there were times like Jerry and I didn't have a cell phone while we were in foster care. So I wouldn't even be able to tell him something until he came over to the house, and they wouldn't let me out to see him unless I had written a week prior that I wanted to have a visitation with him. It was bi-week, like I think it was like every Wednesday I had to let them know what I was doing the whole week until the next Wednesday. And if I did, like, something came up on Saturday that he became available and was able to see his son, they had to go through program managers, staff supervisors, and caseworkers and stuff just to get it approved. And I'm just like, why is it so hard for my child's father to come see his child? And sometimes, I needed a couple of hours to myself, or even 5 minutes, and I couldn't get that because they don't really watch your child while you're in the house. There has to be like a actual reason for them to kind of like daycare watch your child at all. Like if it's school and you have no daycare at all for whatever reason, then they'll only watch your child. So the fact that I was within the group home, they wouldn't watch my oldest son, and I couldn't leave him with dad by himself, because of whatever reasoning they wanted to create. Each staff did have different rules. One of the staff, she actually tried to get me in trouble by saying that she had told myself and Jerry that she asked him to leave at 10 o'clock, which she never came to us and asked him to leave. She was completely fine with him being there. And it wasn't even like he stayed until like 1 in the morning. He was there for a couple of more, like I think it was like 30 more minutes. And she was just like, oh, we're reducing your visitation because you guys didn't listen to the rules. And I'm just like, but no one told us anything about him being here after 10 o'clock. Even today, you didn't ask him to leave. He was sitting here completely fine. You were in the office doing whatever you were doing, and there was no issue. And honestly, I feel like all of this, as hard as it was for Jerry and I, like to deal with the system and to deal with not being able to be around each other, I think it affected our oldest son the most. And just seeing him now and seeing how he was, like he really wanted to see his dad, and that was like something that he couldn't do because of how the system was. And that's really all
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah, and I just want to say before we move on to Isaiah that like all these parents have been like a huge part of writing this paper, and they were the reason we wrote this paper. So like they said, let's do something about this, like since their experience, they were like, let's change this. So just wanted to say that those are their experiences, but those are the experiences that led us to try to take on this topic. And Isaiah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so during the time when my son was born, I was in foster care at the time, and his mother was not in care. His mother was at home with her mom. During that time, I didn't like Jerry also. I didn't have family supporting me. Mother, father, uncle, brother, sister, cousin. I don't have anybody. So I was on my own, trying to figure out how to be in my son's life while also being in care. And at the time, I had just been moved upstate to a group home, and my son was in the Bronx. So even travel itself was an issue, right? Because I'm upstate in Mount Kisco, New York, and he's in the Bronx. So, there was no services there. Um, and on top of that, unlike Jerry and Muhchinu, we weren't together at the time. Uh, so she actively just wasn't didn't want me in my son's life at the time. Uh, she figured since I was gone, I was upstate there, she can do what she wanted, she didn't really need me. Um, but that didn't stop me from wanting to be in my son's life. And, staff, uh, they would try to give me their 2 cents of the situation, but unfortunately, um it wasn't good 2 cents. They would tell me things like, oh, this is just how it is for Black fathers. Like this is just something that you got to go through, you got to deal with it, type of thing. um and telling a 17-year-old that, at the time, when you're not getting any help, nobody's helping you at the time, you're not getting any support, and these people who are here to mentor you, because that's in the staff description of their job, is to be a mentor as well. um when you're working at these group home facilities and at these, yeah, it part of the qualification and the job description is to be a mentor. So I mean, that was their mentorship. Give up. um Unfortunately, that's kind of what I did at first. I gave up, you know, because what else could I do? Until I spoke with a friend, and he was like, fight in court, go to court and fight for your son and your rights. And that scared the shit out of me, because then, you know, I'm like, I'm by myself, I'm alone. She has a family, she has a mother, she has her brother, she has people to support her. She could, you know, you don't got to say too much. All you need to really say is that I have a support system. What do I have? You know, I have nothing, you know. So hearing go to court was terrifying. I was like, well, you go to court, so they can make sure I never see my son again. Like that it didn't feel good here in court. It sent fear to my heart. I didn't know what to do. You know, at the time, I'm in a group home. I don't have my own apartment. I don't have my own place. You know, I'm not mentally stable. I'm in a group home, so you know, I'm not doing well. So you know, I'm not. You know, and then when I got to a point when I got my own apartment, um, I got my own place. The agency instantly discharged me. So you know, there was no support there at all. I didn't. I couldn't even ask. Okay, so now that I'm gone, and you know I'm not in care anymore, can I have some help with my son, or how do I go about the situation with my son now? Um, Actually, the social worker at the time, he asked me, did I want to file for custody? And I said, sure, sure. But by the time that everything cleared through, I was already discharged. So, so conveniently, I again, like I'm on my own. So finally, the court papers went through, and then I'm discharged. So now I'm here, like, okay, I got court next month. I'm discharged from care. I just got to go at this. I just got to do it. You know. Um, Only for my baby mother to go to court, you know, just say a whole bunch of lies, and I ended up getting like 2 hours of visitation only, right? Uh, a little later, I didn't see him at all. I'd show up to see him, and she wouldn't bring him. So I'd go to court and I'd say that, and you know what they say? Okay, next time if she doesn't come, let us know. And I'd let them know, and they'd say, okay, next time when she doesn't come, let us know. And then it just be that all over again, you know? There is no implement real into they just, you know, give her some words. You need to let him see his son. You can't be doing this. If you do this, there'll be some repercussions, but no repercussions really actually was stated. So I was just not seeing him. I was just not in my son's life. Um, and it was tough. It was tough. I um I stopped going to court because at that point I seen that it wasn't helping me. Going to court wasn't solving the issue. If anything, it was making her feel like I was fighting her and I was trying to take my son from her. Um, So, you know, the problems it became more combative for me in that situation because she felt threatened. She felt like I was trying to take custody. I wasn't trying to take custody. I just wanted to be in my son's life. I just wanted to be there. Um, by the time I finally got my foster care lawyer involved and tried to see if maybe she could help me out and give me some assistance, uh, she told me basically that she couldn't help me because I wasn't in care anymore. Um, And this was my lawyer that I knew my whole life, like since I was 3 years old. So, I mean, I think she'd give me some type of support or something, or hey, a reference, something, you know, like someone else to go to. But no, um, you know, and I say that all to say just to emphasize the no support, right? Just to let you guys know how alone um fathers are in this, right? And then when it comes down to it in New York, I even tried getting some type of services, some type of certification, father program, something. So just to when I go to court, I can say I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Like, and all of them are required for you to have your son with you. So, you know, if I'm not the primary caretaker, those programs aren't available to fathers. So again, it leaves me in limbo. Like, what do I do? There's nothing I can do.
Thank you, Isaiah. I actually just want to pause before we go on with our presentation because I feel like, what Jerry, Muhchinu, and Isaiah are saying just hard to hear and painful and true. So I just want to pause before I follow up. I just take a breath and acknowledge sort of, and someone put in the chat heartbreaking, and I really do think that's true. And we know it's not just, these three parents, right? And the other thing about Isaiah's story is he was in care and the state was supposed to take care of him and really totally abandoned him in this situation. Yeah, and a lot of people are putting comments in the chat. Yeah, so I'm just I don't speak as eloquently off the cuff as Isaiah and Jerry and Muhchinu, so I'm gonna look at my notes, but I wanna just take 5 minutes before we go to our recommendations to share a little bit about what we heard from, there were a number of staff at mother-child residences who were willing to talk to us because we really wanted to get their experience, and I want to take 5 minutes just to share what they said before we go on to our recommendations. So they told us that they really wanted to support fathers, and they told us about fathers who came to the mother-child residence who they went out of their way for, making relationships for them, inviting them in, and trying to connect them to services because they saw that these fathers were really trying. At the same time, staff shared concerns with us about mother-father relationships, including when fathers and mothers, fathers were above and mothers were below the age of consent, when one or both parents had untreated mental health issues, when there was emotional coercion and control or physical violence between parents. And they also just shared concerns about the impact of the presence of fathers on other mothers in the residence. So, we didn't just want to give the perspective of the parents, which are, startling and heartbreaking. We did want to kind of give a, full picture, and we wanted to share the concerns they raised. And given all that, the staff also said that they wanted for fathers what fathers themselves wanted. Namely, they wanted dedicated and trained staff and supports for fathers. We heard from them that they wanted more groups and programs around co-parenting and around safe relationships. And they wanted fathers' own caseworkers and staff to be trained to support them as fathers. They also wanted fathers to have spaces to be with their children and to be together with their co-parent beyond the mother's residence. At the same time, so there was a lot of goodwill but at the same time, we found that staff had misinformation that led them to violate fathers' and mothers' rights. And it was important for us to highlight that too. So for instance, and you've heard this now from Jerry and Muhchinu, several staff repeated what we'd heard from parents, that they believed that they needed to do background checks or home visits before the father could spend time in the mother's residence, or before the child could spend overnight at the father's home. We heard from one staff that she believed that children couldn't stay overnight with the father ever unless there was an order from a judge. You heard from Jerry too that staff have told parents that they can't go to their friends' houses or their family members' houses unless those people have background checks and home visits as well. And all of this, at least in New York, is not guidance and it's not policy. So this misinformation and lack of standardized decision-making practices, leave young parents at the mercy of the subjective judgments of individual workers. And all of this combined with like what you've heard, that fathers themselves aren't living in places where they are usually allowed to bring small children, leaves many young fathers with so many barriers just to be in their children's lives. And I'll just share that last week I talked to another young father who aged out about a year ago, who told me that while he was in care, he was working to make money just so he could rent hotel rooms to spend some overnights with his son, this while he was in care, because he had no place else, nowhere in the system to go with his son. And that's really heartbreaking, and it shouldn't be. And the last point that I'll make is that, we believe that one of the reasons that some of these practices are happening is because there is contradictory messaging from the child welfare agency itself at the top. So despite clear language in ACS guidance that young parents living in foster care have the same rights as all other parents to make decisions for their children, including who their children spend time with, unless there's a court order that says otherwise. We also heard back from the ACS communications office that the foster care agency and the mother share responsibility for the well-being of the child and for making those decisions. And what they wrote to us was, the foster care agency does have a responsibility to assess the well-being and behavior of the mother who is in foster care, and part of that oversight may involve making inquiries about where she's allowing her baby to spend time. So our problem is that there's no clarity on what actions staff and foster parents should and should not take after they make inquiries. And I think we all know by now that when child welfare staff fear that they may be held responsible for anything that goes wrong, and they don't have clear guidance about what steps they should and should not take to do their very complex jobs responsibly, they often err on the side of caution, and this often leads to parents' rights being violated. And so we just want to, not just say, oh, this is the problem of frontline staff, but we want to acknowledge that there's mixed messaging coming from the top. And so both in terms of the violation of rights and in terms of lack of support, we think like that's a system issue. And we're going to move on to our recommendations. And just before we do that, we want to acknowledge that ACS right now is working on a fatherhood policy, and we may, to address all sorts of issues related to fathers being overlooked and discriminated against, but we're also fighting to have young fathers put into that policy. So that's a very specific thing that we're trying to do. Okay, we want to take like another 10 minutes to talk to you about our recommendations and then open things up for any questions or comments. Hold on. I've lost my order. Does someone know who goes first?
It's Isaiah.
Isaiah. Okay. You know where you are in terms of the recommendations, Isaiah? Do you need me to jump
I
in?
apologize. I was having some problems unmuting my mic. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. You want to start with our first recommendation?
The first one being support. Young fathers need support to fight for their rights in court. It's whether that be like caseworkers taking some time to mentor you and prepare you for family court. Just to be a little bit more specific, like as to like what to expect when going in, something basic on just how to communicate. Some people don't even know how to communicate to a judge, how to speak. Um, like lawyers who could represent us uh in these custody cases, because all of them are wanting money. Which is ridiculous, how in New York we don't have no free custody lawyers. Like, why is it all a money thing? Um I feel like that's it, that's where I stand. Just that support, just needing that support, having some type of fatherhood program, that could discuss uh the legality of the whole situation, somebody to call and talk to when you're going through these things. uh when you already have nobody, you need that support, especially when you're walking in a failing court.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, and casework and support from the beginning, right? From the beginning through to the family court. Muhchinu, do you want to take recommendation too?
Yes, I believe that child welfare systems have a responsibility to provide fathers with places to be with their children. It could be places in the father, like if the father's in care, places in their group homes, foster homes, to have kids spend like, the day or even overnight. Um, rooms and spaces in mother and child residences. Sorry, one second. Rooms in mother and child residences, where both like, mother and child can be with, mother and father can be with the child, and show that even though, not a lot of parents are like Jerry and I, we're together. One second, I think that is Jerry at the door.
Should we be singing some background music? I think we'll just wait for Muhchinu to come back. She should be here in a minute.
Sorry, Jerry did just walk in.
Take your time.
Um, sorry, where was I? Yeah, so spaces in mother and child residences, because even though Jerry and I are together, there are some parents that are not together, but would like to create a co-parenting familial situation with their child. So they understand, like, and sometimes it could be a mom and her partner, that stepped into that father role. I also feel like there should be father and child group homes or supervised independent living apartments where children can stay. I feel like these spaces need to be created so fathers and their children can bond, and families can be together.
Thank you. Jerry, do you feel like you're ready to jump in and talk about recommendation 3?
We ain't got no elevator. I just walked up 6 flights of stairs.
Do
Good. Sorry.
you want to take recommendation 3, Muhchinu, until Jerry catches his breath, or are you ready, Jerry?
Yeah, I can think.
Okay.
I also feel like there should be father and child programs, because in some instances, like I've heard, with mothers in my group home where I was living, that their child was getting removed from them because they were deemed unfit for whatever reason, they had in their situation. And it was like, well, the child's now going into care. Why? Because the father's like living with its mother. And I'm just like, but if these, or the father's in foster care themselves, and I'm just like, well, they need to create spaces for these fathers then. If they have mother and child programs where the mom can take the child and be okay, then why can't the father? You know, and instead of placing another child in care and traumatizing this child, we can just open more spaces where fathers can take their child and the child can live with the father. And that's really it. I don't know if you guys want me to read part of Jerry's recommendation.
Jerry, can you tell us the recommendations about rights, or you are bailing? I can read them. Okay, yeah, so we also have, in the paper, we also talk a lot about the importance of making sure that young parents know their rights and that staff know their rights. And we've begun to talk about, since there's a lot of staff turnover, whether our parents can make short videos, 5 or 10 minute videos, just letting staff know that like young parents have rights and what those rights are, because when we did those interviews, they really didn't know.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Rachel, but I just
Yeah.
want to let you know and everybody know that my phone is currently on 5%. So I'm gonna be here, but just in case I go out, I did not leave. I'm not home right now.
Okay, we got it. Thanks, Isaiah. And we also think that child welfare systems need to be clear themselves about what they want staff to do and what they want staff not to do, and to create that clarity with staff and to create decision trees or whatever it is, so staff know that they can do their job responsibly without violating young parents' rights. And along those lines, we also believe that there needs to be clarity in those mother-child residence, group homes, everywhere, that if fathers are going to be told that they can't come into the home, there has to be rules that are created beforehand so that mothers and fathers know what those rules are, and there need to be mechanisms for young parents to address that, to say, we think this is unfair and someone should hear our complaint. You want to finish us off, Muhchinu?
Yeah, sorry. Where were you?
About co-parenting, number 6.
Staff needs to be clear that background checks and home visits.
No, number 6, about co-parenting. Yeah.
Child welfare systems should understand that. Apologies. I feel like a lot of the time when young parents are looked at, they are looked at like they have a lot of conflicts. And I feel like it's like, you're a young parent, you don't understand like the ways of the world. So you shouldn't have conflicts, or because you shouldn't be in a situation like this where you are a young parent. And I feel like it shames or blames the young parents, and we're saying, oh, they shouldn't have conflicts. Yet I've lived with my parents, and I've seen their relationship with each other, and I've seen older relationships where they're grown and they all still have conflicts. So when you look at young people and you're just like, oh, you guys shouldn't have conflicts, I feel like it's demeaning in some sort of way. Like, young parents do have conflicts. Older parents have conflicts. It's just the way it is. And I don't think it should be, oh, don't have these conflicts. It's how to navigate these conflicts, how to still be parents while having these conflicts, because now it's not just about you. It's not, oh, you guys are in a relationship, whether you guys decide to be together or not, it's up to you. It's this child is getting affected. And if you guys don't teach these young people how to navigate these conflicts, you're telling, you know, that you're telling, sorry, I can't find the words for it. It's just, I feel like it's just,
So you need some help? I got them words right
yes,
here.
yes,
Yeah, I got them right here. Yeah, I got it right. Listen, when you're in care, like, right, because this is what I'm going through right now, right? So I would have wished there was some type of service, some type of mentor, just somebody, right, to teach me how to navigate through the situations that I'm going through with my child's mother, right? Instead of just telling me to give up, right? That this is the way that life is for Black men in society.
So, thank you. Yeah, I wanna make sure that we have time for questions and comments, and so I'll just say, following up on what Muhchinu and Isaiah said, is that when we were researching the paper and we were trying to find services to support young parents as co-parents, we really found very little. We could find services for young people who had experienced intimate partner violence, but we really couldn't find any support for young parents who wanted to work things out, wanted to work together, needed couples counseling, or needed mediation. We really had trouble finding that. And so we know it's not just a problem of the child welfare system. That's a big lack. And before we turn it over to questions and comments, I do want to share that ACS worked with a community-based organization some years ago to produce a really beautiful co-parenting curriculum. It's an 8-week curriculum that talks about communication and teaches child development and problem solving. And so if anyone is looking, sorry, we went all over, our slides don't match up, sorry, Galen. But if anyone is looking for just some kind of starter kit to provide co-parenting support, we do have that curriculum and we are really happy to share it. And we are looking for a home for it. So yeah, I know we only have a few minutes left, but we want to leave it open for comments and questions.
Great, thank you all. I haven't seen any questions come into the Q&A, so I'll encourage people to type in either in the Q&A or in the chat, or raise your hand if you'd like me to unmute you if you want to ask a question or make a comment.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there is a email on the last slide, and maybe you can put that up if you're interested in the curriculum. We just have it, and so we can send it to you. So if you send an email, they'll send you the curriculum, and we can talk about how you might be able to use it.
I guess while we wait to see if other questions come in, I'll ask, how has ACS received this and the report and what you've been sharing? Sounds like there might be some changes coming as a result of this.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to just say that the Brighter Futures Work Group has members from ACS in it, and they knew about the report all along, and they supported the report. And even though it's pretty critical, like they were, the members of our work group were involved in it. So for that, we're like hugely respectful and appreciative. So ACS is looking, they aren't looking specifically at young fathers, but they are looking at equity issues around fatherhood in general. And we've been invited to they have twice a month, like a ACS Fathers Policy Working Group. And so we have been invited into that working group, and we continue to push to have the issues that young fathers in care face. So we don't know how things will roll out. We've also, ACS has also talked about wanting to partner with us to create more information for staff and young parents about fathers' rights. So, you know, there is movement. I think they do want to do things differently.
If we could answer quickly a question from Nancy in the chat about, is the curriculum you talked about applicable for formerly incarcerated fathers too?
Yeah, I mean, it was created for young parents in care, but there isn't anything specific about it. It's really about, you know, both parents having the same understanding of child development, both parents having communication and problem-solving skills, and at the end, you make like a co-parenting plan together. So there's like sort of this culminating action. And yeah, I don't know. I think it would be generally appropriate.
Great. Well, I want to close by just encouraging our participants to, you know, look into the system in your state or jurisdiction, find out what kind of experiences young fathers and parents in foster care are having, and share this report if it feels relevant, which I think it probably will in a lot of places. So many, many thanks, Rachel, Jerry, Muhchinu, and Isaiah, for your work on this report and for coming here today to share it with all of us. We really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to move to Maureen Holliker, who's going to share a few updates. Love to see that, Jerry. I'm going to share some updates from the Children's Trust Fund Alliance. And we will get into a few updates from first Maureen Holliker, then Maureen Durning, and then myself. So Maureen, here you go.
Excellent. Thanks, Kaylin. My updates will be real quick, just to let you know, if you are interested in becoming an Alliance certified trainer in the protective factors, we have a training coming up virtually February 3 through 6, 2024. And Lucretia Rose is going to put in the PDFs for you. If you're interested, you can download those in the chat. The next update is that, you can go to the next slide, Kaylin. These are the dates for virtual trainings in 2025. So if you can't make the February 3 through 6, here are the other dates. Again, there will be a PDF in the chat box for you. And then just one more slide, Kaylin. We are really excited. Our bilingual Spanish materials are almost complete and being uploaded to the website. And so we are going to renew our training of trainers for bilingual Spanish-English. And we are having a bilingual training of trainers. So the dates in 2025 will be March 14 and 28 and April 11 and 25. You have to attend all 4 days. And there will be special pricing and priority registration for those trainers that are already Alliance certified. And so if anybody's interested in offering this particular curriculum in Spanish, that's the information for you. And nice to see everyone, and happy December to all of you.
Okay, and Maureen Durning, are you able to come off mute?
Yes, I certainly am.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much. Thanks so much, Kaylin, for giving me the opportunity. We are so excited. I know some of you are familiar with our Strong book, Strong, Teaching the Strengthening Families Protective Factor Framework to Parents and Professionals. After a great, wonderful year of working, we have now got the book up and running, and it's in digital form on our website. So the new digital version it still contains 50 very easy to follow lesson plans, and they can be used for a wide variety of audiences. I've used them everywhere from one-on-one in a home visit all the way up to conference presentation of 400. So the book itself is updated now. It's now 430 pages. It keeps getting longer and longer. It's updated with the new information from the CSSP research. That's all included in the expanded introduction section. Each chapter also now highlights all the new protective factor definitions. We've expanded the Youth Thrive section to include information about hope, the healthy outcomes from positive experiences. All the handouts are in both English and Spanish. And one of the things I love about this digital version is that it's very easy to navigate. There's a clickable table of contents down the one side. And then when you go to a handout, you can click and have easy printing on the handouts. We even have a new lower price. The book will now be sold for $75. And of course, if you do a Train the Trainer event with us, then the price of the book is included in that. That QR code takes you to our website, to the Butterfly TTT, Butterfly Trainings That Transform website. And we have a newsletter that is going to go out probably either this week or early next week. And the newsletter is going to have even more information about the new book and about some of the exciting work that we're doing here in Idaho. So if you go to the website, there's a newsletter link right on the front page, and we'd love it if if some of you would sign up for our newsletter. So that's it. I made it, Kaylin.
Great job. Thank you, Maureen. So glad that you are doing that work, and thank you for sharing it with the webinar today. All right, I am going to share a couple quick ones from CSSP. And my slide is loading really weirdly, but there it is. So in case you haven't been listening, I highly recommend the New Neighborhood podcast. This season, which is season 4, I have handed off hosting duties to Sanaa Sharif, parent leader from our Parent Leader Network. And she has been interviewing other parent leaders, including some names and faces you may recognize from these webinars. And they have just been fantastic. So we have 4 episodes out so far. You can get them on the Buzzsprout link I put in the chat or wherever you get your podcasts. And next week, we should be releasing the final 2 episodes in the season, which are an English version and Spanish version of an interview with 2 of the Spanish-speaking parent leaders who presented on last month's webinar as well. So you can listen to it either in English with interpretation or in Spanish with interpretation. We're excited to be able to bring that to you and get to hear more about those wonderful parent leaders' stories. And then I have one more slide to share, and I'm going to put the links in the chat in case folks are jumping off. But just to share news from our Early Learning Nation Collective, CSSP is one of 7 partners in this work, and we are currently recruiting communities to participate in an early learning community cohort. We're also recruiting parent leaders or aspiring parent leaders to join a parent leadership and advocacy cohort. One will be launched in English and one in Spanish, both in the next few months, in the beginning of 2025. So please look those up. There's also a leadership collective cohort launching from the Children's Defense Fund. If you're interested in that, I can send it to you, but I didn't have a link handy. So we'll get that up on the ELN Collective website soon, and you'll be able to find it there. But thank you all for joining us today. Many, many thanks to our presenters.